Welcome to ClubhouseNews.com. You're tuned in to Clubhouse News Weekend for the week ending Saturday, January 23rd, 2016. I'm Erin.
And I'm Abraham. On January 18th, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day, honoring one of America's greatest civil rights leaders. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Christian preacher who advanced equal rights for blacks in the 1950s and 1960s before his tragic assassination in 1968 by James Earl Ray. He encouraged nonviolent civil disobedience, meaning his followers would often protest unfair laws by breaking them and risking arrest. He inspired a national movement that eventually resulted in laws like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which helped overturn unfair discrimination practices against blacks. After his legendary "I Have a Dream" speech during the 1963 March on Washington, in which he preached the value of compassion for your fellow man and the nobility of the human spirit, the Reverend became known as one of the greatest speakers of all time.
My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
In 1964, King was honored with the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts in fighting racial inequality and with peaceful resistance.
What I do know is he's nonviolent. What I need to know right now, what's Martin Luther King about to do next?
The threat of a huge winter storm sent people into a flurry of weather preparations along the East Coast, as the head of the National Weather Service warned tens of millions would be covered in chaotic frost. North Carolina and Washington, D.C. governors declared a state of emergency as car accidents piled up in the streets and highways, and homes were buried in inches and inches of snow. This wasn't just some brief pinch of snow either, as it lasted the entire weekend in some regions. The National Weather Service issued blizzard and winter storm watches for parts of Maryland, Washington, Virginia, West Virginia, and Arkansas, Thursday through Saturday, as residents flooded stores to load up on supplies before the massive cold front hit. Roads were shut down in dozens of cities, forcing folks to bundle up inside next to a roaring fire for some Netflix, video games, and good old-fashioned family gaming nights. Even the airlines were taking major steps to protect people as over 3,000 flights were canceled. What's the cause of this winter wonderland? Well, a frosty air mass has been making its way down south from the north, and while the cold winds have been especially brutal, it's actually a normal weather pattern for this time of the year. The Arctic cold may even reach the frigid levels of the so-called polar vortex phenomenon, which can blanket the nation in icy snow from the North Pole. See, global warming has weakened a barrier of air that normally keeps chilly temperatures locked away in Elsa's icy kingdom, inviting them to spread their blue tendrils all across the USA. So bundle up if you're on the East Coast and stay nice and toasty.